Good afternoon, everyone. Um, my name is Charlotte Pass, and I am your instructor for Lit 570 Young Adult Literature. And what a fabulous class this is. I know that many of you on Thursday actually spent time with Christina and Lisa and learned about how to use Blackboard. One of the things that you didn't get, however, that I feel like you need is kind of an introduction to the course itself. So that's what I'd like to do today, is to provide you with that. Um, just the textbook, just so that you know. Can you see that? Let me see if I can get it in the camera right. This is your course textbook. It is Young Adult Literature by Short, Tomlinson, Lynch, Brown, and Johnson. It's a small textbook, even though the price seems a little unrealistic for the size of the textbook. It's fantastic. What a great resource. I hope that you like it as much as I do. It has short chapters. It has wonderful information at the ends of the chapters. So when you are trying to select a book to read, and you don't know where to begin, you can look through and find out a little information about books that fit that genre. And you can then look them up on Amazon or any of the online bookstores and read some book reviews. Also, I put a place on the discussion board. I called it book chats, so that as people are reading books, because I'm going to be reading throughout the semester young adult novels as well, so that I can give you feedback. Also, you can post questions about, I'm trying to find a book for contemporary fantasy or science fiction or whatever the book might be. And, I was wondering if you had some suggestions. I always have suggestions. Always, always. Goodreads.com is another place that I would highly recommend that you go. If you check on Blackboard, there is the section of web links, and the web links have links to all sorts of websites that provide recommended book lists, including YALSA, which is the American Library Association's book site, a young adult site, so that you can access information about award winners and all sorts of things. So I hope that that is helpful for you. The big thing, I think, if I were you, it would be, the syllabus, the course syllabus. And I know that it was shown to you previously, but just so you see, I brought my sample in here to show you. Clearly, I've got to figure out how to center things on here. But just so that you have a sense of how it works, this is an online course. Other than the instructional session and the very last session. So every time I post things, I have modules of information. So if you click on the title of the module, then you have all of the necessary collateral texts or videos or PowerPoints or anything like that to assist you in completing the tasks that are identified for that particular week. There will be some times that we might meet. I would like it if you would send me an email if you feel comfortable using Google Hangouts, because we can use Google Hangouts occasionally so that we can touch base and actually have everybody in the class together for a discussion. I think that they're wonderful, but if you need additional instruction on Google Hangouts, I can actually email everyone a way to do that. So just let me know. My name again is Dr. Charlotte Pass. I am very accustomed to going by Charlotte. So Dr. Pass, Charlotte, whatever you are comfortable with, I'm comfortable with. I hope that you find that I'm very approachable. I try to answer emails quickly. It's been a kind of a challenge recently because of an injury. So I've had to wait until my husband could actually come and sit by me and sort of take dictation. but I will do my very best to get back with you. So if you'd like to set up a face-to-face meeting at any point, Skype, have a phone conversation, whatever it is, then please don't hesitate to let me know. My email address is here on the course syllabus. It's the standard Cortland email address. Um, and for those of you that I already know, I want to say I'm so excited that you're in this course. And for those of you that I haven't met yet, well, congratulations, welcome. I'm delighted to be able to interact with you, even if it is through a cyber version. My office, in case you happen to come to campus, is 1319 Cornish Hall. It is the education building, so it's the third floor, because hence the 13. It has a big purple butterfly on the door to help students locate it, because some of my undergrad students have difficulty finding it, so I find with stuff on the door it's helpful. And my office number is 753-4283. And if you leave a message, it also goes to my email. So I will be able to hear either through the phone or through email what the message is. My official office hours are Wednesday and Thursday, 1 to 4. But I also understand that you need me when you need me. I will always be available at the computer from 7 to 9:30 during our set class time on Thursdays, so that if you email me something during that time, I can immediately respond to you. So just wanted to let you know that. If you're wondering what this course exactly is about, it is about young adult literature, which is a newer genre of literature. It really works super well for reluctant readers, for struggling readers, and then you have those students who just love to read, period, and they're going to read no matter what, and they will pick up young adult novels and read them. I actually heard someone speak recently who said that a young adult novel would be those books that young adults actually want to read rather than what they have to read. I can understand that. I feel like you have to meet students where they are, and that's one of the things that we try to do in our program, is to assist you with meeting students where they are, making the match for them, finding out what would be the best fit for them. And young adult novels are a great way to do that. One of the complaints about young adult novels is that it's just fluff. It doesn't really matter. It's not high quality writing. It's not ever going to be classic literature. But it's interesting how many young adult novels have withstood the test of time. For example, in general, we think of S.E. Hinton's The Outsiders as the first young adult novel. And S.E. Hinton, as you know, was 15 when she wrote the book. And it's about young adults and young adults who are attempting to solve their own problems. It's a coming-of-age book, in a sense. So it's still being used in schools today, and many of the schools consider it to be a classic. So I guess the canon sort of depends on whom you're asking. The course objectives are available on the syllabus, just so that you know. That's one of the questions you always get asked at the end of the semester, is about the course objectives. So they are listed at the bottom of the first page, and then what's probably more important in my mind would be on the second page, the additional course goals and student outcomes, because this really tells you specifically what we're going to do this semester. This is what I want to see us do this semester. I want to know that by the end of this semester that you can, like number 1 says, demonstrate knowledge of works by male, female, and minority authors. I want you to be able to demonstrate knowledge of current trends and issues in teaching young adult literature. For example, the censorship issues. Censorship continues to occur. I don't know if you're aware, but the most highly censored book in America, according to all documentation that I have read, is the Bible. So, it's not just young adult literature, but since young adult literature does get into some of those heavier topics, such as rape, incest, physical abuse, domestic violence, so many different issues, LGBTQIA issues, etc., they tend to get censored frequently. As far as the required texts are concerned, I've already shown you the text. And then always check Blackboard, because for every week there will be a module for you. And if you click on that heading, then it will take you to the supplemental material as well. And then I give you Cortland's conceptual framework learning outcomes, and those we are required to place on there by the state. Course attendance, well, your attendance is really about being engaged, doing a lot of work, because online classes, I don't know how many of you have ever taken an online class, but they are work heavy. So you need to stay on top of it, because it can get away from you pretty quickly. If there are any special needs that you have, absolutely let me know. Academic integrity, don't cheat. That one's pretty straightforward. Your major assignments, you have 2 lists for the first one, the A to Z listing. So you will have one A to Z list of young adult authors, and they are alphabetized by the author's last name. So if you were using Lois Duncan, for example, then it would be listed under the D, so Duncan, Lois. If you are listing the authors, we use the Library of Congress method, so we ignore A, An, and the articles. So a book titled The Chocolate War, the Robert Cormier book, would be listed under C for chocolate. So you would still write The Chocolate War. And as I'm sure you all already know, with book titles, when you are listing them, if you handwrite them, they should be underlined. If you type them, they should be italicized. All right, so I hope that is helpful. One question someone raised was about the different due dates, because they sort of come up on different days of the week. I did that to kind of spread out the workload for me, but as long as I get the work that week, that's what really matters. So just be sure that you get it in as it's posted online, okay? The book talks are fun. Book talks are a way that we take a book and we say, you know what, this book is the best book I've ever read. I think that, in this particular book, this character does these things. Or you can be the character and say, I've had such a rough life. I can't begin to tell you. Let me just talk about the day that I had today, right? But it's meant to be short, because adolescents don't have a lot of patience. Think about movie trailers. There are also book trailers available online. Think about what information goes into those. That's what should be in a book talk, selling the book. Okay, there is a folder for book talks that is posted under course content, so I would suggest that you look at that. It includes do's and don'ts of book talks. I know that we didn't really give you a good example, because the young lady who talks about books in the video that you saw last week actually is just running through them very quickly to give everyone an overview. That's the kind of information that you might want to post in a book chat. But if you have additional question about book talk specifically, please let me know because I'm happy to help. You can see the different young adult novel annotations. You have different categories that you need to fulfill. So it's a book for each one of those. So you're going to read 8 different young adult novels for each of the following genres: realistic fiction, modern fantasy, historical fiction, nonfiction, biography, and then poetry. Okay, then you are to read one book by a multicultural author. So it's an author that represents an ethnicity and or background different from your background. Okay, for example, if you are Caucasian and you read a book written by an African American author, or you read a book by a Chinese American author, just someone with a different background from you. Okay, because as we know, literature should always be both a mirror and it should be a window. So you should be able to use it as a window so that you can look into other cultures, other people who are different from you and learn about them, gain insight. And it should also be like holding up a mirror to yourself because everyone should be able to see himself or herself depicted in literature. And certainly that is the case in young adult literature. Okay, then your 8th and final category, I give you options. So you can read a book by an international author. So that'd be somebody just not from the United States. There are young adult authors all around the world. I even give you some examples of some of them. So if you don't know where to begin, that would help you. Another choice is a book in a series because you're actually going to reflect on, in your annotation, you're going to reflect on it and say, okay, you know, is it different? Is it written differently? Do you approach it differently because it's a book in a series? Can you tell when you read it that it's a book in a series? It couldn't stand alone, etc. Because some people start a series and then stop reading after the first book. Well, would that be bad for that particular series? Those things would be things to note. Another possibility is a book that's been banned, and several books get banned all the time. Judy Blume's books have always been banned. Chris Crutcher is banned frequently. Laurie Halse Anderson's Speak, I think many of you may be aware of that novel. That one gets banned because of dealing with rape. It can be banned for any of a number of reasons, which may be political, which may be religious or non-religious, or just maybe graphic content, the themes, whatever it is. Any book can be banned, censored or banned at any time. So if you get stuck with that, then let me know and I can always make suggestions. The next one is a book by a first-time author. So it would be a debut young adult author, and you can actually Google that and come up with some. Often they tell you in the back flap of the book, it tells you that that's the person's first book. And then you'll address in the annotation, you know, could you tell it was the person's first young adult novel to write, or did it read like a seasoned young adult author? You know, that's an assessment that you would make. And then there is an audio book. So an audio book that you can listen to. You can do the e-library, the local e-library, and download some. Or you can there are some books online that are audio that you can listen to if you choose that particular one. Okay, and then I give you a list of popular authors. These are kind of people who've been here for doing this for a while, who are particularly prolific as authors. Um, and when I talk about the annotations, there is a template posted on e-learning, or Blackboard, excuse me, because we changed the name so many times, on Blackboard for the annotations. And if you will look at that, there's also a sample one that's been completed, so you've got a model to follow, and you have just the template so that you could just type in the information. Each one should be no more than a page, and you're being asked information such as the book title, what is the citation for the book, like who's the publisher, what year was it published, major characters, possible censorship issues. Remember that any book can be censored at any time, so anything that might even possibly represent an issue is one that you would note. Tell themes, give a summary. The summary has to be yours, okay? It can't come from goodreads.com. It can't come from any online source. It can't come from inside the cover on the copyright page. There's like a little 2-sentence blurb in many of the books summarizing them. You need to write your own summary because that reflects what you deemed important about the book. Okay, and then there's classroom uses or possible classroom uses. You know, can you see connections? Think about connections. Think about text connections. You know, what class could you see this book aligning with, and with what in particular? What topic would this work with? Would you think that this book would be good? Like Out of the Dust is an excellent book that could be used in a history class talking about the Dust Bowl and the Depression. So you just think of the kinds of connections that you can come up with and ways to use the book. All right, let's see if there's anything else here about young adult annotations. Again, if you have questions, let me know. Notice that they're due April the 17th, so you really want to start reading the books. And don't just read the books and then wait to do the annotations, because what I have found in the past is that students tend to forget things. Once they move from one young adult novel to another one, they forget some of the key pieces of information. It's really better if you read the book, write the annotation, and keep yourself on track that way. A web quest is on here. There are actually sample web quests posted on Blackboard. A web quest is when you are thinking about a young adult novel and you are using it as the basis of a lesson that's online, that takes students on a journey online. For example, there's the book Al Capone Does My Shirts. That's a young adult novel. You could do some background work. You could have students looking at things like the layout of Alcatraz. You could have them pose a problem for them to solve, and they have to access different information. So you see, it's a connection between the novel itself and internet background information that could support whatever you're doing. All right. There is an instructional sheet posted on Blackboard as well. So if you have questions about that, let me know. The interview of a young adult reader. One of the things that for this week you are looking at is you are looking at reading habits of teens. So as you read information in your textbook and you read that particular document and you're reading some of the seminal articles in young adult literature, you find out certain information about the teen readers. What is the readership doing? What are they like? You know, what do guys tend to read? What do girls tend to read? Does it matter? But to actually support that information, you are going to be interviewing a young adult reader. And your interview, the questions are already posted on Blackboard, okay, under course content. And you will interview this person and write down the answers to the questions and then use that information to generate a paper that's kind of a narrative of this student. You know, Diane F. is, please use pseudonyms for everything. Diane F. is a 9th grade student at a rural high school, and her favorite classes include da 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 da. So you pull it all together and you're going to get at what the student reads and why, okay? And then you're also going to, in your last paragraph, you're going to make suggestions for that student. So it's documenting your understanding of the student and the student's interests, and then making the match by locating specific young adult novels that will be interesting for that student, that will engage that student. Okay, so that is down for March 20th. For your entrance tickets, quizzes, and things, I will occasionally post quiz questions for you. Your entrance tickets, that's going to include when you work on the discussion board, when you are commenting. I'm going to start a new forum for frequently asked questions so that if you have a question, you can post it there so that when I post the answer, everybody can see it so that they will have the answer as well, because usually it's not just one student who has the question, it's more than one. Your author study is the big assignment at the end of the semester. My desire is that by the time that you are nearing the end of the semester, that you are going to have fallen in love with at least one of these authors that you read. And because of that, you'll want to read more works by that author. And you are going to then create an author study. There is information posted on Blackboard about the author study. There's also a slideshow of some sample author studies at both the elementary and the secondary level. And what you're going to do with that is you're going to create a trifold, and you're going to design it as if it's a bulletin board for your classroom. So border, color, think of all of the things that you would be using for that. There's also a folder on Blackboard that covers the rubric, that contains the rubric and the expectations of the handout that goes along with that author study. But let's say that you decide to do John Green. So you're going to read 3 books by John Green. You're going to have John Green's name prominently displayed, usually in the center of the trifold. You're going to answer certain questions about John Green, things that would be appropriate for adolescents. Clearly, if you design it for 7th graders, you're going to use different information than if you design it for seniors in high school. This should be something that you could use in your own classroom, or perhaps you could donate to someone else for his or her classroom, ideally. But again, questions about any of that, do let me know. The grading scale is on here. I think that that's pretty straightforward. I will give you grades as we progress through the semester. Your writing needs to be at the college level, of course, particularly in a graduate course. So I hope that if you have any trouble with your writing, that you seek assistance, have friends read things, read it into a tape recorder and then play it back so to see if you can hear any of the mistakes yourself. But overall, this is such a wonderful course because this is the time when you get to read fun books and you don't feel like you're wasting time. You're actually reading things that move quickly because young adult novels in general move at a quicker pace. You're reading about characters that are interesting in all kinds of ways. You're reading about characters from all walks of life. I think that it's really fascinating. My rule of thumb when I'm selecting a book to read, I try to give it 15 pages. That's generally my idea. I give it 15 pages to hook me. And if it doesn't hook me, I pick a different book because there are way too many young adult novels out there for you to be miserable reading one of them. So think about that also. But I guess that's it for now. I am certainly delighted that all of you are enrolled in this course. I really hope that you will reignite your fire, your passion for reading if you've lost it. Some of us, still read. But I know that when you have multiple obligations, that reading for pleasure tends to be set aside a little bit. But I hope that you get to read for pleasure and that this really gets you intrigued. This course gets you intrigued about reading young adult novels and that it becomes a passion that you share with others. So I guess that's all for now. I hope that everyone is having a lovely week and I look forward to interacting with you this semester. Have a great day. Bye-bye. We can edit it if you want, but if you're satisfied with it, then it's good too. I just think sending it and having it out there for having it out there so that they see a face and they hear a voice and I went page by page through the syllabus